The Bitcoin halving is here, and this is what we celebrate. This is an event that happens every 4 years, so this is something to talk about. And in this show, I'm going to give you everything you need to know about the Bitcoin halving. I'm going to explain to you how the protocol supporting Bitcoin actually works, proof of work. Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain to you in very simple terms, just enough so you can have a conversation about it. I'm going to look at previous data, historical data when Bitcoin halved and how that reacted on the price. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why this is a big deal. So guys, if you are returning to the channel, smash the subscribe button. We bring you the best alpha in the industry. I promise you, you will not regret it. And if you're returning, please smash the like button. It genuinely, truly means the world to me. If you like this content, let me know in the comment section below as well. Guys, there is a billion ways to make money in crypto, and I am on the mission to find them all. My name is Fefe, and if I find anything, I share it with you. So if I make money, you can make money too. Let's jump into the video. So for us to start talking about halving, we have to understand what Bitcoin really is. It's designed to be this peer-to-peer digital cash replacing all fiat currencies and, basically revolutionizing how we interact with money. However, it is kind of becoming a store of value, something like a digital gold. Talking about gold, gold is a store of value because it's limited. So there is a certain amount of gold in the world that we can use, and there will be no more. By having limited supply and increasing demand, that gives gold a great store of value status. Now, a lot of people stack away US dollars in their bank, and I talk to a lot of people daily who say, I have a savings account and I'm putting 20-30% of my earnings in there, and that's just growing and I'm making money. And I just always tell them that you are not making money by saving US dollars or fiat currencies, you are actually losing money. And the reason is because contrary to gold and Bitcoin, the US dollar and fiat currencies are inflationary. And that means that by printing more money, the governments basically dilute the value of your currencies. Now, don't get lost, bear with me. So let's imagine there's 100 people on a deserted island and there's only 10 bottles of water left. That 10 bottles of water is at extreme demand, but at a limited supply because there's only 10. Therefore, the value of these bottles of waters is very high. But let's imagine that someone takes a walk and finds a well with hundreds and hundreds of liters of water. Immediately, the 10 bottles of water, the value of the 10 bottles of water will drop drastically because the supply is not capped anymore. It's not limited. Now, going back to the dollar, the government can print dollars. You probably have heard about quantitative easing, and you probably have heard about the government printing more money as they wish. Printing more money basically means that they are finding a well and adding supply. So there is no limited supply to the dollar. And that means that the 10 bottles of water or the current dollars in circulation can be immediately increased because they can print more money. And that is what we call inflation. So if there's $100 in the world today and they print tomorrow 20, that means there's 20% more dollars in circulation, and therefore your coin, your you see, I'm thinking coins, but your dollars are worth less, has less purchasing power. Now, why is this interesting for the Bitcoin halving, you may ask? And it is very important because the Bitcoin halving solves exactly this problem. Halving means that there will be 50% less Bitcoin coming into the circulation after the halving date. I'm gonna get into that in a second, but first we have to understand proof of work. And bear with me, this is important stuff. I am telling you, it is important. When you sit down, you wanna talk about crypto, you want to take this seriously, you have to make sure to understand these things. So keep watching. So there are different protocols that operate these blockchains. I don't wanna go that technical in here, but what you have to understand that there is something called proof of work, which basically allows Bitcoin mining. It's called work because the miners, these are actual machines, computers, compete with each other to solve a very difficult technical puzzle. And when that puzzle is solved, Bitcoins are created as reward, and it gets rewarded to the ones who solved the puzzle. In simple terms, there are machines put in a big warehouse running all the time and trying to solve a puzzle. And when they solve it, they get Bitcoins. But how much Bitcoins they get? That's the actual question. And that depends on the number of blocks they solve. Now, when we say blockchain, that's the underlying technology behind Bitcoin, we have to imagine it as block of transactions. So in each block, there is about 3,500 transactions stored. And that means if I send you a Bitcoin, that's stored, put into a block with other 3,499 transactions. And that is a block. And to solve that block or add that block to the blockchain, miners have to solve that very difficult puzzle. So when they solve a puzzle, that block gets added to the blockchain and the miners get rewarded a certain amount of Bitcoins. Now, the Bitcoins they get rewarded is coded into it's coded. So in 2009, 8, when Satoshi Nakamoto designed this whole thing, the code was created, the whole thing was launched, and it is programmed to happen. Nobody can change it. it will stay that forever. There is going to be 21 million Bitcoins in the world, and that's it. There is no more. So to gradually increase the circulating supply that is actually coming into everyday life and accessible for everybody, the Bitcoin that is accessible for everybody, or Satoshi Nakamoto did not design this whole thing so all the coins are in circulations and you can buy and hold whenever you want. It is coming into circulation by the miners solving these concepts. So when a block is added to the blockchain, the miner gets currently 6.25 Bitcoins. Yeah, it's a lot of Bitcoins, but it's a lot of work as well. And computing power, you know, it's actually a lot of Bitcoins, but if you think about the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. But Fefe, let's talk about halving. Let's talk about halving, but you have to understand this. So here we go. The miners get these 6.25 Bitcoins every time they add a block to the blockchain or solve this puzzle. But the blockchain is that if they would get 6.25 forever, there will be no cap on how many Bitcoins will be there, out there. Therefore, there needs to be a mechanism that reduces the number of coins these miners or validators get for solving this puzzle and operating the blockchain. And the reduction is, in case of Bitcoin, 50% every 210,000 blocks, or approximately 4 years. So that does not mean that the 21 million Bitcoin will be halved and there will be the circulating supply will be halved and whatever. What it means is that the miners who get rewarded 6.25 Bitcoins for each block now will only get rewarded 3.12 Bitcoins for each block for the exact same work. 3.25 to be exact. So the way the code works is that there is a block with about 3,500 transactions in it every 10 minutes on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, if you multiply this whole thing up, you will see that when you get to 210,000 blocks, you will be about 4 years in. So the code is written in a way that every 210,000 blocks, there should be a halving in the rewards, and that is exactly what we're going to see now. Now, why is this relevant and why it can be interested in the price of Bitcoin and why we could see a massive growth? Let's go back to our example with the 10 water bottles and someone finding a well. Imagine I tell these 100 people that I have 10 bottles of water, but I'm only giving out 5 bottles in the first day, 2.5 bottles in the second day, 1.25 bottles in the third day, and that way decreasing the amount of water I give out every single day. The supply stays the same. I have still 10 bottles of water, but I'm reducing the number of, I'm giving 50% less bottles every single day. You can imagine that by the third day, people will probably fight over that 1.5 bottles of water because it will become more scarce as we go by the day. Now that's the exact same here with Bitcoin. There is 51 million at totals, like 10 bottles. And as the years go, every 4 years, we will get 50% less in circulation. So where are we with the 21 million cap? Well, currently, there has been about 19.7 million Bitcoins mined. So we are approaching the 21 million. The thing is that it's not 19.7 million Bitcoin in circulation because a lot has been lost and left in a wallet and sent to a wrong address and burned and whatnot. So estimates are that about 17 million Bitcoin are in circulation. And that means that we have a 21 million Bitcoin supply cap, and even from that, even from the 19.7 that is already in circulation, about 2.5 million is lost. That means that 10% of the total Bitcoin that will be ever created is already lost or logged or not accessible. And again, we just learned if supply goes down and demand goes up, price usually follows and goes up as well. One more thing I want to add to the halving is we talked about inflation in the beginning. How does Bitcoin really fight inflation? And I said that it's through the halving. It happens through the halving. Now, the inflation rate of Bitcoin is about 1.7% yearly. And the reason why I say that currently, inflation is 15, 20, 30% in some places. So 1.7% is absolutely incredible. Why? Because even though the Bitcoin having a halving and the supply that comes into circulation gets halved every 4 years, there is still Bitcoin coming into circulation and dilutes the value of Bitcoin because there are more Bitcoins. But because the supply gets halved, this number is tamed at 1.7%. I mean, I don't know where you live in the world, but just to simply understand this, and this is actually one of the true values of Bitcoin and why it's becoming a store of value. If you take 20 bucks in 2012 going to a supermarket, you see what you can buy, and you take 20 bucks now and going to a supermarket and what you can buy today, you will see what I'm talking about. However, if you would have bought Bitcoin in 2012, you would probably be a millionaire by now, even if you just bought for $1,000. So now that we know that supply is decreasing, and because of the reasons I just explained, demand is increasing, that makes the price go up as well. Limited supply, increased demand, equals higher prices. Now let's look at what happened the previous 3 events Bitcoin had halvings. Bitcoin had a halving in 2012, 2016, and 2020. If you've been here for a while, you know where this is heading. So if you haven't, stay tuned. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, this is the weekly chart of Bitcoin from basically the very beginning, from 2011. Actually, this chart shows these 3 lines are the halving events. So I can't even see it because it was so small here. I can't really see it here. But if you look at the weekly chart, the halving happened here, and within, what was it, 300 days, exponential growth, 5,000, so 55x, basically 60x in 2012. Let's look at what happened in 2016. By the way, guys, I want to plug my channel here. If you are interested in trading, I have trading shows, live trading. I teach you a completely different concept. There is a link in the description to my trading channel. Please check out, subscribe, and come to the live shows, interact. I promise you won't regret it. So this second line represents the second halving event in July 9th. And we saw exponential growth after there as well. Then, basically we saw the 2017 bull market and a cool off. And then in 2020, we had another halving here. And I don't even have to tell you what the rate here is. Absolutely mind-blowing. And then we have a cool down in this period as well, a bear market. And then what is different here, and this is what we're going to talk about, is that the halving will happen around this time. So when you see this video, the halving already has happened or is happening literally within 24, 48 hours. So if you consider that the halving will happen around these regions, and you see that this was the pump after the halving here, we don't even see this because it was so tiny, but I showed you 60x on that, and you see this was the reaction to the halving in 2020. Then what you can imagine is that this is the reaction of the halving in 2024. So although history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, it definitely rhymes. So because supply is going down and demand is going up, the likelihood of this playing out and Bitcoin rocketing to all-time highs, new all-time highs, potentially to the 150, 160,000 region is very likely based on the historical data. What is interesting here and is completely unique and not seen in the previous cycles is that Bitcoin already reached all-time high before the halving event. Now, a lot can wonder whether this is a bullish or a bearish indication. What you have to understand, this is just my take and my personal opinion, that we are going to see a complete different bull market this time and going forward, basically institutions getting involved. This asset becomes an institutionalized asset, and therefore will bring different characteristics to the cycles. So the fact that Bitcoin reached all-time high before halving is not a bearish indication for me. I believe this is rather something that we have never seen before. When institutions get involved, they basically load up before retail arrives, as they always have done. And even though we did achieve and create a new all-time highs before halving, the likelihood of Bitcoin rocketing to new highs, in my personal opinion, and based on the data, what I just showed you, is extremely high. Now, as you see now, Bitcoin can bring massive gains after the halving. But what else can bring massive gains? As this is where I want to bring in our sponsor, ORDIBANK. Now, as you know, I only bring in sponsors that I genuinely, truly believe in, or I think is very interesting, and ORDIBANK is one of these. Why? Because the whole bull market is being institutionalized, as I have talked about this. Now, institutions coming in interested in buying Bitcoin, and that puts massive buying pressure on Bitcoin and on the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's very interesting because for a long time, Bitcoin maxis did not want a Bitcoin ecosystem. There is no second best. Michael 𝗕𝗓𝗓 said it.
There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin.
But recent developments with BRC20s are showing signs of a massive Bitcoin ecosystem is developing. ORDIBANK can be one of the players in there. So what am I talking about? You probably have heard about lending and borrowing and DeFi staking. Well, that thing was not available in Bitcoin for a very long time. But now, as we see BRC inscriptions, where you could see, NFTs on Bitcoin, different other use cases on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin DeFi, Bitcoin lending and borrowing. This is exactly what ORDIBANK brings to the table. So the basic idea here is that there is a bunch of liquidity left in Bitcoin. It's basically just sitting there. A lot of people holding, stacking sats, right? And it's standing there doing nothing. What ORDIBANK basically tries to get and tap into that market. The people who just hodl, the hodlers, and the Bitcoiners that just sitting on a cold storage, ORDIBANK aims to offer a self-custody solution for DeFi staking, lending, and borrowing your Bitcoin. So the project is pretty exciting. I'm going to tell you in a second. It is in a testnet. However, they do have a launch token already, and you are extremely, extremely early. As you can see on their Twitter, they say ORDIBANK is a novel money market built on Bitcoin layer 1. So it's literally built on Bitcoin, operating as the compound finance of the native layer. If you scroll lower, you will get to a section that says, how does ORDIBANK work? ORDIBANK enables users to lend out BTC BRC20s and ARC20s for yield and borrow at competitive interest rates. It addresses the need for decentralized money markets inspired by the success of compound finance with Ethereum in the 2020 DeFi summer. So what they basically do, again, is that you will be able to take your Bitcoin that you would hodl and you don't want to keep on exchanges, self-custody, and lend it out peer-to-peer, and basically as Bitcoin was designed, peer-to-peer someone else, and obviously earn some interest. Now, if you go onto their website, you will see an Enter app icon. You can go there, you can connect your Unisat wallet, and you will get to this interface. Again, this is still in testnet, so once you connect your Unisat wallet, it will swap you to a test network, but you will be able to come here and see what the basic idea here. If you have done any borrowing and lending on DeFi, this is basically the exact same, but on the Bitcoin ecosystem. So when you come here to the website, there is a link in the description. You will be able to come to the dashboard. Here is where you will see your own borrowed or lend Bitcoin. You can click on markets and you will see what assets are available. On it, you will see what assets you can borrow and what APR there is. Again, all self-custody. Now, there are a bunch of other features why ORDIBANK is going to be very, very interesting in my opinion. If we again assume that Bitcoin is going to get the main attention this bull market, people will start getting into BRC20s and use the Bitcoin ecosystem. Now, ORDIBANK, as you saw as well, I mean, this does not look complicated for me. If you have played around with BRCs, it was an absolute nightmare. You had to do inscriptions, then you had to list them, but you couldn't sell fractions. It was an absolute nightmare. With ORDIBANK, they basically revolutionize the space. Now let's talk about the token and why I bring this to you right now. Now, do you have a token? It's called ORDIBANK, ORBK. You are able to get it on Gate.io and Maxi and Bitget already on centralized exchanges. It just launched a month ago, and these exchanges already launched it. I mean, Gate.io Maxi is not a surprise, but Bitget is kind of surprised. So this is very promising for me. It's a 12 million market cap at 45 million fully diluted valuation, which is a little bit high for me, but it had a 50-60% drop in the past month. It's been launched a month ago, and that tells me that everybody who wanted to dump probably has dumped already. Why have I invested, and why do I think this can be a hero or zero play? Because if the BRC20 narrative picks up, if I'm right with the institutionalization of this bull market and people going towards Bitcoin much more, if the lending and borrowing narrative, DeFi, which will pick up at some point, we will have a DeFi narrative, can transition the people, the Bitcoin maxis, into getting into DeFi with their Bitcoin, ORDIBANK is an absolute winner in that space. For me, it's a degen play. I always tell you honestly, for me, this is a zero or hero play. It is down, if you look at a 3 months interface or the time frame, it is down about 60%. I do believe it's a great buy at these levels. If you want a move bag, again, this can go 100x, 1000x, or it can go to zero as well. I genuinely think this can be interesting. I am invested, full disclosure. I hold a small bag and I will hold to see if the narrative unfolds. Guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I really hope that now you got a little bit of better understanding on what Bitcoin halving is and how you can benefit from it. Not financial advice, absolutely not. If you follow this channel, you know that we do our best every single day to give you money-making tips and everything else to help you navigate the crypto industry. But I believe if you are sidelined now, you might be making a mistake of a lifetime. Take 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks, 1,000 bucks, whatever you can afford, and buy some Bitcoin. I am basically begging you. Again, not financial advice, but yeah, that's what's up. If you got any value of this video, please, please, please let me know in the comment section. I'll reply to every single comment in the first 24, 48 hours, and smash the like button and share it with your friends. And guys, make sure to follow me on Twitter. I interact with you there. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I believe I will see you in the next one.